Hi everyone, and welcome to another session on cyber community. And today we will be having a session on introduction to Microsoft Dataverse. Today we have our special guest, Atunde Ayula, who is a Microsoft MVP and a tech evangelist, and he will be walking us through the introduction to Dataverse and how you can get started in it and what are the basics you need to understand about the Microsoft Dataverse. And with that, there is two things I would like to remind before we get started that the recording will be there, which will be available on our YouTube channel. Secondly, there is certificate of participation, which you can receive. You need to be till the end of the session, and after you fill out the form, you should be receiving it. And if you want to be participating in more trainings and events like these, please do join the community by scanning the QR code or link will be shared in the chat box. Okay, without any more delay, let's get into it. And Atunde will be giving an introduction to himself and a little bit more about himself and getting into the session. Over to you.
Hello, Suraj. Confirm that you can hear me. Can we all hear me? Hello, Suraj.
Yes,
Can we hear me? Am I audible, loud, and clear?
yes, everything good. Looks good.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. It's so good to be here. Thank you, Suraj. Thank you, Sty Eva, Azure Africa, for having me here. I'm grateful. It's going to be a very interesting one, as we'll be looking into a very important topic today. All right, so sit back, relax, and follow through. I think this will be a very good start to a very good thing. Okay. All right, so my name is Ayo. I'm a principal consultant with Stringify, a Microsoft MVP in the areas of business applications. I'm also a functional consultant and a solution architect for Microsoft Power Platform and Microsoft Dynamics. Also a software and a DevOps engineer. Yeah, I like to teach and preach tech, and then I like to bring digital transformation. And so I like to bring digital transformation to a lot of things. Apologies for that. Okay, so you can connect with me on any of those channels, any of those platforms, and I'll be glad to connect to anybody. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we have today. All right. I'll be sharing my screen. Let me just share my screen so you all can see. Okay. Yeah, please give me thumbs up if you can see my screen. Just let me know if you see my screen, everyone. All right, fantastic. So that was just the little introduction I did, all right, about myself. So connect with me, everybody, at every point in time. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so today we're looking at Microsoft Dataverse. Very, very interesting topic we have here, and a very interesting one to look at. Now, if you and I'm going to come from every angle for those who are, low code, no code developers, and for those who are probably pro code developers, right? Just to have an understanding of what Dataverse is all about. The very first thing I like to say is Microsoft Dataverse is a data service. What does that mean? So it means that Microsoft Dataverse is beyond your standard relational database. So you have your RDBMs, your relational database, where you store your records in columns and then in rows, right? We write SQL queries, we write queries to be able to achieve that particular database, right? However, with the Microsoft Dataverse, which is the Microsoft data management system for the Microsoft Power Platform, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM, one of the things the Microsoft Dataverse has is that apart from serving the purpose of your standard relational database, it also moves it further to help you do some sort of customization, logics, security management. You would agree with me that the way we do it in core dev. So as somebody who has experience in core dev, I code C Sharp, Java, and I write SQL and all of that. So if you look at what we do, right, we write our SQL queries to build our database, right, probably on MySQL, on SQL, on Postgre. And when you do all of that, then we have to do a DB connection, right? From our front end application to our back to our database, right? Do a DB connections to be able to pass information in. When it comes to logics, when it comes to validation, most times we do those logics and validation where? On the front end. That's how we do it most times, right? You do your validation on your tables and all of that. One of the beautiful things that the Microsoft Dataverse now did is to say, you know what? Those validations, those things you do, those logics, those customizations basically that you do will allow you do it right within the same system. So it means within the same system, you create your your relational database with your tables, your columns. Are you seeing that? Leveraging your standard data types that you have out there. And after doing that, you then get to have some sort of customizations where you can still run some sort of logic. Another interesting thing is in a typical front end world today, you have to create your on your HTML CSS instance, you create your table structure, right? You create your table structure, you create your um your forms and all of that. And then what do you do with all of those things, right? The idea of doing all of those is to help you receive data or get information in, right, into your database. That's what we're trying to do. Get information directly into your database. Now, inside the Microsoft Dataverse, one of the things you now get to do is Microsoft gives the opportunity of what we call data experiences. So what are data experiences? So data experiences are your forms, your views, so the elements you require to pull in data. Don't forget that every database you have out there, the idea is to receive records, right? Pass in records and then being able to push out the records back to people that they are able to achieve, right? Or leverage on it. So push out the record to an application, something like that. So all of those actions are done within the Microsoft Dataverse. So when you hear the Microsoft Dataverse, what comes to your mind is a complete database management system that allows you to do what? Pull in records, save your data, save your information. That's one. Number two is give you the possibility of performing what we call data experiences, which is being able to receive records, right, building your forms, your interfaces on your views right within the same data system. And then number three, you are able to create what we call logics, algorithms that is able to at least give you some sort of automations around your data. When that is done, you can now build on top of that data engine an application, a flow automation, a reporting system with Power BI or any other reporting tool, or a chatbot, as it were. So you can now leverage that data structure to build stuff with different instances that you have out there, right? So that's the beauty of what you get to enjoy within the Microsoft Dataverse. Are you getting what I'm saying? Right? That's just the general overview of the Dataverse. So when you start hearing Dataverse from anybody, understand first that yes, it serves the RDBM relational database model purpose, and at the same time, it serves more. Okay. Now moving forward, we'll just look at some quick touch points, then we'll delve into some demos and then see a few things so that you can get started with it. Okay, it's an introduction. So the idea is to help you get started using the Microsoft Dataverse. Are you getting what I'm saying? That's the intention for this particular training today. Okay. uh One of the first things is we'll look at the general overview, which I already started talking about. We'll look at Dataverse table, the data management. We'll look at the security and administration side, and then definitely we'll do some demo. Okay, so let's delve into this quickly. I'm not going to run through all my slides. It's quite a very robust slide, but we'll just go through a few. I'll just touch some key points already, and then we can move. So, uh, for anybody coming into Microsoft Power Platform, Microsoft Dynamics 365, CRM, and all of that, then your touch points or one of the things you would enjoy is what we call the Dataverse. Uh, Now, within the same system, for example, within the Power Platform, if you're working with Power Apps, if you're working with Power Automate and all of that, yes, you get to have engagement with other data sources or other data instances. Your data could be sitting on SQL Server, on Oracle, on the SharePoint list, on Excel, thereabout, and you can still connect to those data instances, all right? However, Microsoft says the base database within our engine or within our system, within our environment is Microsoft Dataverse. All right. So it's always very logical to understand Dataverse because you might have to use it along the line. Fantastic instance. Storage is very, very enormous, large storage system. Yeah, you might have to buy add-ons just to improve your storage space. No delegation in terms of how many data can you retrieve, and we're talking millions and millions of data in here, right? Beautiful stuff. Very simple to manage in terms of his data, his metadata, and all of that. Fantastic. The security is phenomenal. One of the things about database management is the security structure, right? As a backend engineer, I understand how I had to write a lot of testing, a lot of testing around my data systems, my databases, just to secure my database. Microsoft has provided within the Dataverse a security model, and the beautiful thing is the security is in hierarchy, guys. So the first level of security you're having it from the point of your Azure Active Directory access. So before anybody have access to Dataverse data, it means that you are part of that organization. So which means you have your Azure AD identity access. That's one. Two, you have access to the Microsoft Power Platform environment. Are you getting what I'm saying? Because the Dataverse is within an environment. So you create a Dataverse within an environment, which is the very first thing. So Dataverse sits within an environment, and I'm going to just do slides and demos so that you can enjoy the course. So I'm going to take you in, show you where the starting point of Dataverse is, all right, and then we'll move forward, okay? So if I go back into confirm that you can see this screen also, the one with my Dataverse, with my Power Platform. Yeah, give me thumbs up if you see it. Cool, everybody. I'm waiting. All right, fantastic. Good stuff. So look at this, everybody, because this is the starting point. Follow me. It's a simple, I'll take you on a very simple journey. Simple journey. So for every organization, the first thing is you have a Microsoft license or a Microsoft organization environment. So if you look at my screen right now, this is a Microsoft organization here that I'm part of. All right. So because I am in this organization have some things we call licenses, right? We have license. So there are different licenses that can give you access to having access to have a Power Platform environment. Microsoft 365 business license, enterprise license. You might decide to even go for a standalone license. Are you getting what I'm saying? Right? So if you look at my screen right now, you would see that I have some of those licenses. Do you see? Some of those licenses are here for me. Uh, I'm seeing some people saying they have poor network. Is that from me or from your side? Let me know. Is that from me? Suraj, please let me confirm. Is that from me or from their side?
I don't think there is no issue for me.
Ah,
For me, it's going really smoothly.
okay. So, because I hear you clearly also smoothly. So, guys, you might have to check your internet connection on your end. All right. Because, yeah, mine is solid here. A lot of people are saying it's solid on their side. So, please check it on your side. Okay. All right. Good stuff. So let's continue, right? So I said the first level is this. Now, this is interesting. If you are a system administrator, whatever role you currently take, so you must understand that. First thing is what you have a license, whether the Microsoft 365, the Power Platform license. These are licenses that will give you access to having Dataverse. Let me show you quickly. Don't worry. I promise Suraj, it's going to be interesting for you guys. So I will show you everything. I won't hide anything. All right. So if I go under my user here, just to show you the licenses that are possible to give you such, so you can see that I have quite a few licenses, but let's see which of these licenses can give us access to that Dataverse first. That's the first level. Don't forget, second level really, because the first level is that what I can log into this environment, so I'm part of this organization. Good. So if I go down to apps, watch carefully, everybody. You can see common data service, right? So common data service is the previous name for Dataverse. So in case you hear anybody say common data service, common data service, common data service, what they are simply saying is Microsoft Dataverse. That was the former nomenclature, the former name. Microsoft changed the name to Microsoft Dataverse. Okay, good. So if you see, my Microsoft Dynamics 365 gave me common data service access. My Microsoft 365 business standard license give me Dataverse, though it will be limited Dataverse, not not Dataverse with so much space. All right, you see that I have the same thing with Power. So this is more, this is one of the largest Power Apps per user plan. This gives me about 10 gig of Dataverse space. All right, so you can see that quite a few of them gives you access, but if you want to really have standalone instances like that, you need access to, maybe having a standard license like this. Okay, so once you have that license and it is given to you, the environment or the organization automatically have environment. So when you go from there, you can now navigate to what we call the Power Platform Admin Center. The Power Platform Admin Center. So if I take you down to the Power Platform Admin Center, which is what you see now on my screen, here is where you can now create different environments. What are environments? So environments are containers, all right, within the Microsoft ecosystem, Power Platform ecosystem, that helps you to house your resources. So you create Power Apps, Power Automate, you have Dynamics 365, you build Power Virtual Agent. Where are they all sitting? They are sitting within an environment. Are you getting what I'm saying? And you can have different environment depending on your application life cycle. So you can have development environment, testing environment, and production environment. So, and each of them will host their resources as the case may be. So first thing first is an environment. So you can see that if I click on environment here, watch my screen carefully, everyone, you would see that I have different environment. Let it load up. It's still loading. Okay. Come on now, let's go. Yep, fantastic. So you can see I have different environments, and funny thing is they are all sitting in different regions. So third level, follow me. First level, you have access to the organization. Second level, you have adequate license. Third level, you have access to the Power Platform Admin Center. And in the Power Platform Admin Center, you have an environment. So when you have an environment, your environment should be created based on a. So when you're creating your environment, it's going to ask you to either select Dataverse. So let's do a sample. So how does that happen? If I go in here to say I want to create a new environment, if I click on new, let's say I call it style, style Eva environment. Are you seeing that? So it's asking me to select region. This is very interesting. Now, it is important that when you are creating an environment like this, you should select a region. What's the idea? The region is about where is your data going to be located. Your data location is very important. Are you getting what I'm saying? So, and one of the things that will influence that decision is where are your users based. So, for example, I have my users based in Nigeria or based in the UK. I have another branch in UK. It means that my data center must be in Europe. Are you getting what I'm saying? Because that is the closest to me. I don't want to be in Nigeria and put my data center in United States. That's too far. So make sure your data center is always close to where your users are or where your data is going to be residing. Are you getting what I'm saying? So here now, I would say maybe I'll choose Europe. And then what kind of environment? So if you're creating a development environment where your solutions will be built, you can run it as a sandbox. If you're creating a UAT, that's user acceptance testing, where you can bring in users, test your solutions. You can also create it as a sandbox, but rename it as UAT. All right. And then you can have production. Then you have developers accounts for private productivity. All right. Let's leave all of that. It's not an environment, it's not an environment course, but just showing us the idea of so that we can get how Dataverse comes in. So in this case, I say a sandbox, I can say style ever dev environment. Let me say dev environment, for example. Yeah. So can you see it's telling me add a Dataverse data store? Can you see now? So I can actually create an environment without provisioning Dataverse. What does that mean? It means that when I provision an environment without adding Dataverse to that environment, it's a vanilla, a plain environment. It means that any resources that I am going to be creating within that environment will be resources that have to talk to external data sources. Follow me carefully. It means that any resource that you are creating in that environment that has no Dataverse would only be resources that can talk to external Dataverse. So for example, what are those resources? The Power Apps Canvas app can talk to external data sources. Power Automate can talk to external data sources. Power Apps Model Driven app cannot talk to external data sources, so you won't find it there. Power Pages cannot talk to external data sources, so you won't find it there. Microsoft Dynamics 365 CRM cannot talk to external data sources, so you won't find it there. Power Virtual Agent, right? So, for example, let's do something, everybody. I would not create a Dataverse right now. Watch. I'm just going to go save. Yeah. Let's just create the environment. I would save it. Let's go, boy. All right, fantastic. So this is the environment, style Ava, right? No Dataverse created. I'm going to open that environment up for you all, so you have a view into what is in that environment in terms of resources and get a feel so that you get the lay down. And I need everybody to give full attention to this. Let me duplicate this screen so you can have a view of the differences between an environment that has Dataverse and an environment that does not have Dataverse. Okay. Let's go. So this is open. Okay, good. So this is the style no Dataverse. Good. Let me open another environment that has Dataverse. Let me open my personal environment. This guy here. So this guy has Dataverse. Let's go. Open up. All right, fantastic. So look at my screen. There are two different tabs. This tab here, Star Ava, does not have Dataverse. The next tab here, which is for me, my personal, has Dataverse. You can see Dataverse version. This is it. Now, I want you to take your eyes to the resources, everybody, resources. You can see that within this environment, I don't have Dynamics here. That's why you're not seeing. Let me switch to an environment. I have configured Dynamics. So you can see all the possible resources we can have. All right, just wait a moment for it to load. Fantastic stuff. Now, everybody, look at my screen. Because this has Dataverse inside this environment, look at the resources. I have Dynamics 365. I have Power Pages, which is your portal. I have Power Apps, and then I have Flows. Are you seeing that? So all these resources are there because some of them are they can only purely talk to Dataverse alone, like the Dynamics 365, the Power Pages, and the Power Apps model-driven app. Now, so you can see that they are all here. Let's navigate back to the Style Ava environment and let's see what we have. If I go back to the Style Ava environment, notice I can only find two resources, which is what? Power Apps and and Flows, which is your Power Automate. What does that mean? It means that what the Power Apps Canvas, because Power Apps have different, models. You have the Canvas app, you have the model driven. Because the Canvas app is able to talk to external data sources, you find it here. Power Automate is able to talk to external data sources, you find it here. But on the other environment that has Database provisioned, you see that I'm able to see dynamics and the likes because they by default speak to Dataverse. Are you getting the logic, right? If we leave here and we decide to go into a core application side, maybe like Power Apps, and let's see what we have. If I go to Power Apps here, I'm currently in my default environment. Everybody, you can see in my default environment, this is the Power Apps homepage, make.powerapps.com. You can see all the Dataverse tables that I have, both out of the box, which is the standard ones, and then the custom ones that I create. You can see the differences here under the tag, the custom, the standard, and all of that, right? If I switch from this environment and I switch to, yeah, exactly what I'm expecting. Can you see Style Ever Dev environment? You see that Style Ever was located under what? Other environment. Why? Because the environment above here are the environment that have what? Dataverse. Can you see? Dataverse. If I switch to Style Ever Dev, you see what it's saying? I click on tables. It said I cannot access it because I do not have Dataverse. Does that make sense to you? So it means that if I want to build an application here, I would need to what? Connect that application to an external data source. All right, like SharePoint, like SQL, and all of that. If you are getting me and it's making sense to you, give me thumbs up before we go on. Right? At least you understand that first like structure of environment with Dataverse, without Dataverse, and that access. Good stuff, yeah. All right, fantastic. So let's go back again to our slide, look at a few things, and then we'll now come to look at some nitty-gritties also. All right, fantastic. So from what I've shown us, we've seen that what there is that uh importance of the movement of Dataverse, right? So like I said to us earlier, access to data, rich metadata, logic and validation, productivity tools, fantastic stuff within Dataverse. And then there are some building blocks within Dataverse similar to your standard databases, all right? Tables, columns, relationships, and all of that. Now, what you must understand first is this: when you are coming into Dataverse with whatever database experience you have, first thing you need to understand is nomenclature changes. Are you following me, everybody? Nomenclature does what? It changes. For example, in your standard database, you call it string. In Microsoft, it is called text. Are you getting me? String is what you call it. Microsoft call it text. In standard database, you call it integer. In Microsoft, it's called number. Are you getting what I'm saying, right? Doing the same thing, achieving the same purpose, different naming convention, different nomenclature. For example, when you see choice is what you call radio button or checkbox. Are you getting what I'm saying? You know, when you have checkboxes, it means you can select multiple options, right? When you have radio button, it means you have to select just one option. That's our standard HTML nomenclature. But within Dataverse, we call it choice. We call it Boolean in our standard pro development, right? But in Dataverse, in the Microsoft Word, is you see Microsoft says yes or no. You know, Boolean is yes or no, right? True or false. Okay, so it's very important to get on that nomenclature, right? So those are the few building blocks you might want to encounter within the system. But let's pick it up from here. Let's go to some of the schemas that we have in the Microsoft Dataverse. Okay, let's pick up some of the Microsoft Dataverse schemas. First thing is I've shown us that data Power Apps, Power Automate, and all of that, they sit on Dataverse. Are you getting me? Or in some cases, some of them do not sit directly inside the Dataverse environment. Notice that when I showed us that, you didn't see Power BI in there, right? You didn't see it in there because Power BI is not sitting right inside an environment. Power BI is like a standalone system. All right. However, Power BI can connect to Dataverse. Don't miss that. Hosting my data somewhere and connecting are two different things. So Power Apps says I can host my data in Dataverse. Power Automate says I can host data in Dataverse. Power Pages says I can host my data in Dataverse. Dynamics says I can host my data in Dataverse. Power BI says I am not hosting my data in Dataverse. I can connect to Dataverse. Yeah, does that make sense? So, it's very important to understand that. Okay. All right. Now, so that's for tables. Uh, moving forward, so you can see the same thing you have within your tables generally is what we have here. So the kind of data you want to store, we store tables in columns, in rows. So that exists already. Columns, rows, and all of that, right? And then in terms of relationships, we enjoy relationships. Don't forget what I told us. Like, we do everything within Dataverse. As somebody who writes query, I write SQL query almost every day. I understand. You can understand my love for Dataverse when I understand that I don't have to write so many queries. I don't even have to write any query at all to build a complete data model, a complete database structure, right? From columns to table creation and all of that, to relationships and all of those things, right? Beautiful, beautiful stuff that I can do without having to do what? Without having to write any query. All the relationship models are there, from your one to many, many to many, many to one relationships, and all of that. You find all of those within the Microsoft Dataverse. And it's very key to put that into consideration. Okay. Moving on, we have different table types in Dataverse. You might see organization. So it means that you can create tables, and those tables are purely actions within that table are controlled on a user level. One of the reasons why I love Dataverse so much, everybody, is the level of security structure that is on that particular system. I think that's one of the strongest points of Microsoft in Dataverse. The fact that you are able to manage things. When I say security, I'm sure probably Suraj will bring me on board another time where we can deal with security in Dataverse. Security in Dataverse goes down to row. I mean columns and row, where you can determine who have access to my column, who have access to my row, who can perform what on my row, who can do what on my table. Are you getting what I'm saying? So you have that level of access, that level of security structure within the Microsoft Dataverse, and that's beautiful. And then we have organization owned. When you create a table and you say organization, it means you are exposing the table for everybody within the organization to have access to that table, submit data to that table, and all of that. That's what you're saying. And then we have activity table, one of the very important table that you need. So activity table is like a clone. So my data is probably on SQL Server, but I don't want to bring the entire data to Dataverse. What I simply want is I want to just mirror one of the table or one of the column into or tables on my database into my Dataverse. So I can create an activity table or a virtual table. Sorry, now I'm talking about virtual table, not activity table. You can create a virtual table to clone that action. But your activity tables are your tables that handles your mails, your appointments, and the likes. All right. No difference. It's just a name to give them differences. There's something we call core tables. Core tables means your contacts, your account. But let's leave talk. I think I've talked enough. Let's delve into demo, and then we just pick up a few things from there and then explore. All right. So let me share my screen again, and then let's start exploring. So we are back in our style Ava Dev environment. Yeah, good. Don't forget we didn't have Dataverse here. So let's provision Dataverse for this environment, right? So I'll just click on tables. I can do it from here and then click on create a database. So it will automatically create database for this environment called style Ava. If you look at my mouse at the top right, style Ava, or I could go back to the administrative center, right? The Power Platform Admin Center. And from the Admin Center here, I could just click on Add Dataverse. You can do it from both ways. So let me just do it from here. I will click on Add Dataverse. It's asking me to select currency. You can go ahead, look for your currency, whichever currency you want to use. All right, select it and then add. You seen that? So I've added Dataverse. Give it a minute or a few seconds to provision. So you see that it's currently provisioning it. Yeah. Can you see that? Using the same. All right, let's go. Okay, so I'll just refresh and then it should be ready. Fantastic. Everybody, you see that? So you see that style Ava is ready. If we open the style Ava now, watch something. Two things. Boom. Dynamics 365 is here. Power Pages is here. Settings is here also now, right? Because settings was not here initially. I forgot to tell us that it was not here, so we couldn't go in. Now, because we have all of this in now, we can now go back to our Power Apps interface to access it. If I refresh this page now, watch what happens. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. Our Dataverse is ready. Okay, let me do an add refresh. Control Shift R, and then we should be fine. Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. It shouldn't take so much time. All right, just give it a few seconds, and then it should be here. You see the beauty of provisioning Dataverse based on region and all of that. So, all right, all right. Just a moment, and let it circulate to Power Apps. I want us to use that Style. I don't want to use another environment. I want us to stay within that environment, that Style environment. So it should be here by now. Should be here, should be here, should be here, should be here. If it's not here, we'll just probably go and use one of mine till it comes. Okay, so I think we'll just go use one of mine till it comes. I already did this already. Let me try to do it from here again. Okay. I think I'll just use one of mine till it comes. When it comes, we'll come back there. Okay, good. So let's move on. Now, welcome to data. I wanted to show us something with that environment. That was why I was curious. I wanted to also see how it happens from scratch when a new Dataverse is being provisioned. So what happens is when you provision a new Dataverse like that in an environment, there are standard tables that comes on board. And that was what I wanted to show us, because you might face it on your job, right? And so that you don't get confused as to why am I having these tables here out of the box, and all of that. So because most people face that kind of scenario where they are having issues as to why am I seeing uh so because they might be wondering, why am I seeing XYZ in my Dataverse? I didn't create this table. Why is this table there? And all of that. So one of the things you should understand, everybody, is when you provision a Dataverse environment for the very first time, listen carefully. There are some tables you will find there out of the box. Out of the box means they come with the system. So if you look at my screen currently, you will see some tables that are called. So if you look at my tags, everybody take your eyes to my tags. Any table you find on my tag here that is not labeled custom, please, anyone not labeled custom, they are tables that come with the system. So if I keep scrolling down, the moment you see anything called custom, that means that's the table I created. Which environment is this? Let me go to this one. This one has more information. All right. Okay, fantastic. So you can see. So you can see that I have this is custom, right? So custom means created by me. All right. If you see something like core means is out of the box, comes with the system. Standard comes with the system, productivity comes with the system, custom by me. Do you understand? So every table you create, it becomes the tag is a custom. Everyone that comes with the system are called standard or core, productivity, different nomenclatures for them like that. But anyone with custom is your own table. All right. So you should put that in mind. Good. That's number one. Number two is when you now want to start creating, what are the things that are available? Take your eyes. You see that within this Dataverse, there are quite a few things we can do. I can go here and create a new table. I can create a new table from an external data. Beautiful stuff. I can import my data and I can export my data. The possibility around importing and exporting, enormous. I'll come back there. But let's go forward first. So, and if I check on any of this table, watch, I just checked on access key table. You can see what I can do. Check the properties, publish the table, make some dependencies, and a few other things like that. But where is the starting point of Dataverse? Creating tables, right? And then when you create a table, what happens? Within the table, you now begin to explore all those things I talked about. So let's start from there. Very first thing, I will do new table. Yeah, new table. This is how to create a table in Dataverse. No SQL query. I'm not doing anything like, I'm sure we all know SQL query, create database or use database XYZ, create table XYZ, int. That's the way we write it, right? Not this time around. Watch. New table. Can you see? It's asking me to put my table name. So I would say my table name is Eva table. Can you see that? Eva table. And then I can put my table description. Now I want you to go down. You see that there's a schema name, right? A nomenclature, a prefix and a name, which is good. This is what you would need if you want to query the table from an application, from a code standpoint, you need this name. Now, if I scroll down, the type of the table, the standard, there's activity. So any table you create out of the box, just make it standard. If your table is going to be performing activities like maybe fax, emails, appointments, all those repetitive actions, you can decide to create it as an activity table, right? If your table is mirroring a data sitting somewhere, I talked about data sitting somewhere, right? If your table is mirroring data sitting somewhere and all of that, then you can use virtual. Elastic table means your table is powered by Azure Cosmos. If your table is powered from Azure Cosmos, Microsoft Azure Cosmos DB, then you can sort it up as elastic. The beautiful thing is Dataverse has been created not to be stereotyped. So you see that it's able to connect to, allow you create table directly within the system, connect to tables outside there. Beautiful stuff, right? I'm just going to stick to standard. And then I talked about the record ownership. Do you want it to be user or organization? User means you want to be able to map specific user to have access to that table, or you just want to make it organization wide. And don't forget, when you do this, it means that there's a security structure or there's a security settings you must also now do. Okay, so let's leave it at user and team for now. And then image, if I have an image, no problem. Now I want to look down below. This is where it gets really interesting. Guys, look at what I have below here. What we have below here is what today, in a pro development environment, we the backend engineers, or you as a backend engineer, this is what you do, right? When a database is structured, customer says, or a request says, can you make sure there's no duplicate data on my database? What would you do? We would invoke a variable for duplicate information, pass in the duplicate parameters, and then write a method to make sure that there's no duplicate, right? Microsoft says don't write any function. Don't worry, check the box here, and then you can go and do the settings within the same database. That's one. Number two, you want to track changes, right? Oh, who made a change? Don't forget, in a database, what happens in a database, everybody? CRUD. There's something we call CRUD activities, right? CRUD. 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 C for create, R for read, U for update, D for delete. So in a database, you can create an information, you can update an information, you can delete an information, or you can just read an information. Reading means you just have access to see the data. You cannot act on that data. Cool? So, which means if any of those activities happen, you might want to track it, right? Get some kind of audit changes and all of that. If you want to do all of those, you just check the boxes here, and then we'll go and set it on the admin center. Follow me carefully. Other things are there. Probably the table is a feedback table where you want to receive feedbacks and all of that. Maybe it's a customer service oriented table. You can check that point here. So if maybe it's a customer service, you want to add that table information to a queue, you can do that here. The beautiful thing about it is all of these actions are backend activities that you normally will have to write a structure function for. Now you have them living rent free in the Dataverse. All you need to do is check the boxes, go to the administrative center, which I will show, and then create those things, right? But in this case, I'm just going to leave it blank for now. And then I would, beside your properties here, beside these properties, I have what we call the primary column. So the primary column is when you create a table, by default, a column is created. Listen carefully. A column is created. There is a unique identifier for that table. It is different from the column. The column is a normal column that you can use to receive data. If you are familiar with SharePoint, when you provision the SharePoint list, the first thing you find there is what? A column is available called title. Are you getting what I'm saying? That's the same thing you're seeing here. When you create a database table, you find a default column given to you. You can modify it. See, currently it is called name. I can decide to call it what? My title column. You get the point. Just to let you know that this is let's do this title. Yeah, title column, right? And then I'm going to now save and create the table. All right, good. So let's create the table. Let's go. Now our table is created, a Dataverse table. Can you see how easy it is to create that table? No query, nothing. The table has been created. Simple, straightforward. Good. Now look at my screen, everybody. What do you see? You begin to see different things, right? You are wondering, what is this aisle? Now let me give you a run through, and then we just look at it. What you see on my screen is a typical Dataverse table. And I talked about the Dataverse is what? A data service, which means the function is doing is not just record saving. If you look below here, you can see that you can see the column, title column. So it means if we create more columns, we can see all of our columns here. We can have all of our data in here, right? However, beyond that, other things are possible within the same systems. So you are seeing something like data experiences, forms, views, charts, dashboards. Are you seeing all of that? You are seeing customizations, business rules. So like I said, we can do all of those things. At the top, you can see I can even from this table go ahead and create an application, a Power Apps application. I can import this data, export the data, beautiful things, right? But let's take it step on step. So step one is what? Table is created. Step two is what? Columns. Now I will click on columns here, or I can go to new here and click on columns. Don't forget, I am currently in the style ever table. Now I want to create column. This is where it gets interesting. So let's say this column is called um let me say course name. Let's start using something like this. Let's say course name. Watch it carefully. So I say course name, right? So course name is probably going to be a string, but don't forget what I said. We call it what? Text. So if I click on data type, everybody see it. These are all the data types we have. We have what we call text, and the text is even divided into two forms. You have the single line, the multi-line. Multi-line means you're able to take in multiple characters, right? And then single line means you're able to take at least some sort of limited character in your normal SQL. We write it as hint 11 varchar 255 just to put it a cap, right? That's what we're talking about. And then you see that we have different kinds. So even your activity tables, your emails, why are they all text? Emails can have different characters, can have figures, can have special characters, can have text, letters, right? Exactly. So that's why they're called text, which as string. Good. I will leave this as plain text. Then we have number. Don't forget I told you about it. Integer. Under the number, we have what? We have whole number, which is your 0 to 99, thereabout or thereabout. Just whole number, 1001. So no special character. You have your decimal, which you might know as double. You have your float. You have your language code, duration, time zone, and all of that. Then you have your date and time. You can have it as date and time or date only. Then we have lookup. This gets interesting. You might be wondering, what's lookup? So lookup is what? Saying that this column you are creating is going to be picking its data from another table. So there's a table, then I want to what? Reference data on that table within this column. It's more like creating a relationship, right? That's what lookup is all about. So you can directly say, you know what, course name. There's a table called courses. So I want to just pick the course directly into a column. So that's for lookup. All right. And you see where it says customer. It means if you click on customer, this already automatically looks up into the Microsoft Dynamics 365, the Dataverse standard table called contact thereabout. So it looks up into that immediately because that's called customer, account and contact. All right. And then you have choice. Yeah, I talked about choice, right? And then you have Boolean, currency, auto number, and then you can save your file or image. So your file could be image file, media files, videos, and all of that. And then you have your formula, your power FX. But let's leave all of that. I'm just going to create. I'm just showing us the entire data type we have. If you move further, we have what we call behaviors. You can see simple, calculated. If I switch this to which of them will give me that? Let me see. Choice should give me roll up. Just a minute. I want to get roll up out for us, so we see what it is. Integer, O number. Yeah. So you can see under behavior, we have simple, calculated, and roll up. So for those who are familiar with SharePoint, you know this also. So what this is doing is giving you a quick calculation possibility right within the Dataverse. For example, I can have two columns. One is holding a data, another one is holding another data, but I want to get the sum of those two columns, right? I can use calculated column to say, you know what, pick column A, pick column B, give me the results. Then for roll up is saying I can talk to multiple tables. Follow me. Calculated multiple columns in a table. Roll up multiple tables in Dataverse. Make sense? So column A, column B, calculated results. Table A, table B, table C, roll up results. Does that make sense? Hope we get the gist, right? So roll up is aggregating different tables, information from different tables. Calculated is aggregating information from different columns on the same table. Cool. So that's the beauty. You can easily get those quick results out. All right, but let's go back to text. All right. What else? If I do the same thing, you can see the schema name, and then now look at what I was talking about. There's a box that says enable column security. You see the beautiful thing. So this is where if I enable this, I can go and set it to say this is the only person I want, or these are the only people I want to have access to this table. But let's leave all of that. Let me save. I'm looking at my time, it's almost gone. So I'm going to just save this column. Let's create two more columns. Okay. I'll just create two more columns, and then I'll do a relationship between them. So we see our relationship also works. All right. Let's go. All right, so you can see course name is here. Let's bump into more columns. Uh, let's say courses, right? Let's do a choice column, courses. So in that case, I'll do choice. So you see that when I did choice, it's asking me, do you want to make it global, or which means do you have a choice column that exists? I'll just do no. I'll create it immediately here. So let's say the course is Azure. There's an Azure course. There's a Dynamics course. Say there's a Power Platform course. And then say there's a M365 course. Yeah, just let's leave it at that. So you can see the courses. I would say no default choice. Save. So I have a choice column now already. Now watch my columns. Don't so I talked about standard stuffs, right? You see that you might be wondering why is all of these things here, Ayo? Yes, they are there because by default, when you create a Dataverse, tables are created, columns are created by default. All right. Don't forget I talked about you can track who made the change. How does that happen? Because all of this already been created to help you track that. But don't focus on them. Focus on our own, our custom. What is the ones we create? Course name, courses. Are you getting what I'm saying? Those are, and this, can you see our table ID? Style table ID. So these are the custom ones we created. Let me add just one more column, right, to this. And then what kind of column can we call it this time around? Let's say uh let's say maybe an integer, a number, something like that, right? or we can even see an auto number. So you see how it can increment stuff, but let's just say number anyways. So I'll say O number, yeah, O number, let me say course code, something like that. Yeah, course code, O number, uh, format, that's fine. Okay, simple. So let's leave everything the way they are, and I would save. So we've created a few columns, just a very few columns within the style ever table, and you can easily find them right here. So if I pass in data, let me bring that last one here. Let's add it so we can see them. Course code, courses, right? And I'll just see. So you can see that these are the columns we currently do have. At least that we created. There are other ones if you want. If I want to know who creates an information at every time, I can always say I want to know who created that information. I will be created by to know who is creating that record. All right, just to know. So you can see the columns we have within Dataverse. Then the next thing is what? Relationships. All right. So you might want to have a relationship between style ever and another table. How do you then do that? This is where some things get interesting because the relationship structure within Dataverse is, I'm going to explain it to us carefully, all right, carefully. I know a lot of people, even those that are familiar with Dataverse, still get a lot of issues or understanding this particular logic. A lot of people still don't understand this logic. So let's do this. If I go to relationships now, everybody watch. I told you about this already, so they exist. So let's do new relationship. Say I want to do one to many, for example. So I'm saying that maybe from the style ever table, one, let me say, one record, one course record, maybe I want to relate it to, let's say, an account, for example, right? So I'm relating it to an account. You see the way I've just done it? This is one, this is many. You can see the one here, one to many. You can see one to many, one to many. So under the general, this is the name. If you want to change the name, you can change the name. Under advanced, this is where you select the behavior. You see, this is where people have issues to understand this. Now, there are different kind of behavior. There's referential, there's parental. Let me explain it carefully. Referential means that you are only going to reference data from the primary data instance. So I am going to style ever table is only going to bring data when it needs that data from the account. So the account table data remains on the account table. I'm only pulling that data in. That's what I'm doing here. That's referential. Parental means that what I am inheriting. The child is inheriting the data of the parent. So which means if you click on the parent, you will see all the child information. If you click on the child, you will see the parent information because you are totally inheriting. So if you create a data on the parent table that is linked directly to that child, automatically you will see all of that. You don't have to reference. The data automatically will appear on the child because it's been related. Are you getting what I'm saying? Right? That's parental. Now you would see something like delete here, and it says remove link and then restrict. You are wondering what does it mean? When you see the word remove link, it means I want to remove the lookup value for all the related rows. So if I relate these two tables together, what I'm saying is, I want to be able to remove just the value I'm looking up to. So I've looked up to a value, I've brought in the value from accounts to style ever table. I can remove that record. And in removing that record does not mean that record is removed from the primary source and does not sever that particular relationship. I am only removing that particular record. That's what we call remove link. All right. Restrict means I want to prevent. So that's the second one here. Restrict. I didn't say restrict. Restrict means I want to prevent the primary table role from being deleted when the related table rows exist. So it means that what I cannot go ahead and delete accounts when style ever table exists because they are related. See that? That's what it's saying. So that's the idea between removing link. Removing link is removing data, maintaining the relationship. Restricting means boom, you cannot remove that table when the related ones still exist. Are you getting that? So that's what you get. That's what you get between those elements in terms of what kind of behavior you are doing. So let me just keep this as referential. All right. And then you can have it one to many, many to one, as much as you want. Okay. Just to show us an example of what you can do. Guys, can you see what is going on? We've created columns, we've done relationship in the same Dataverse. We've not left Dataverse, we're still in Dataverse. And then we're already building a structure, a database structure already. So the relationship has been done, columns has been done, right? I'll skip keys for now. So keys are not really within Dataverse. We don't really sit on this kind of keys. These are alternate keys. So these keys they're not your foreign key. No, 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 no. That's not what it is. Alternate keys are keys to reference keys to allow external instances reference your data. So somebody wants to reference your data from external, set up the key, map columns to the key, they get the ID, and they're able to use the ID externally. Within the Dataverse, relationship does the job of foreign key methodologies and all of that. Okay, so you've seen columns, you've seen relationships within the same Dataverse. All right. Now, you can see other ones. Like I said, these other ones are a different full day course. If I'm going to take us through forms, views, charts, business rule. But one thing before we wrap up the course today is to now show us what I talked about, that when you create this kind of system, right, you can from this database create applications, create different things. So I'm going to just create a simple application from this particular simple database table, and then you see how it happens. And we can even submit record that saves into the database and all of that. So if I go here, I can just do create an app, you see, and it's asking me what to go ahead and create what kind of app. So it wants to create a model driven app directly from here. But in my case, I think I would prefer to create a canvas app. So I can easily go to, let me go to apps. Okay. Okay, let me go to create. Let's do it from here. So I can create it from Dataverse. Watch. I click on Dataverse. It opens up. It's going to return to me all my tables that existed and ask me which of them do you want to use to create this application you want to create, right? You can see here they are. Boom. I select my Dataverse connection, and then it returns all my tables. You can see them, and you can see star Eva tables. So if I select star Eva tables, I click on connect, watch, connect, boom, give it a few minutes. The system create for me a solid Power Apps application with that same. So you can see, skip, boom, this is my application, star Eva tables, right? I can easily go here, everybody. Let me play the app for you to see. Go here now. Can you see? This is my created columns, title. Let me add other ones to it so it looks even more, I can get more data in, right? If I go to my details edit screen, on my edit screen, I can add more information. So I will remove created on. See now, quickly I'm already cleaning up this guy. So I can put my course code, my course name, my courses. Can you see them? And then just add them to it. And then here they are, right? Simple stuff. If I play the app now, let's go back a bit. Okay. Let's do new play. So you can see, boom. See, title column. I say the course is what? Type say, let's say Dataverse series. Are you seeing that? Dataverse series, course code, let's say DTS 101. Okay, 101. Course code is so you see that it didn't allow me put DTS because course code is an integer, a number. Good. Course name. Course name is, let's definitely Dataverse. Something like that. And then the course. Can you see my options? See them? Here they are. So I can say Power Platform and I submit. See? I click on submit. Now I've submitted that data. You see the beautiful thing? that data is submitted. If I go to my details screen, see that information is here. See, if I go to my browse screen, see it here. See it, Dataverse series is here. If I click on it, I can see it here. I can delete, edit. If we go back to our database, we will find this information right on our database. That information is already submitted to that database. You see, I didn't even do anything. I didn't do anything much. I didn't write any function. I've created a very simple app that can take information, that can bring in data to a database system from creating that very simple table and all of that. Oh, what am I doing in Power Automate? Okay, I can still access it from here anyways. Let me just switch the environment. It's not a big deal. I don't want to take our time. So once we see the data in our Dataverse, all right, once we see the data in our Dataverse, then I will just do a quick view for us to see the security things I talked about, just to see it, and then I'm sure that we'll be doing this again soon. So let's go to Star Ever table. Star Ever table. Watch everybody, beautiful thing. Data live in our database. Can you see the data? Dataverse series, Dataverse 101, Power Platform created by this user here. See? Table created. Simple. That's the beauty of what we're talking about here. That's Dataverse for you. I built an app on it, even in I built the app in 30 seconds. Can you see the beautiful thing, right? All right. Good. Last thing before we wrap up the course, I think our time is gone. Last thing, I talked about those security structures earlier, right? That Dataverse has. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. If I take you back to the administrative center one last time before we wrap up, all right, in the admin center here, if I go to settings, I am inside one of the environments. So don't forget that don't forget Dataverse is environment based. So that application I just created is within which environment? This environment. I cannot find that application in the other environment. It is only within that environment. If I need it in any other environment, I would have to manually go and export that application out of that environment. If I need that same table information in another environment, I will have to export that table out of that environment. I hope you're getting the gist, right? So your data is secure just in the environment alone. Even though we are in the same organization, but that particular data is seated in that environment and secured inside that environment alone. Good. So if I take you back to the admin center here and I go back to that particular environment of mine, I can now go to settings. So when you get to settings, this is where everything is. Under settings, this is where we do the excessive customizations. See, now I am inside the settings. You can see. So if I check logs audit earlier, all I need to come and do is enable audit here, and I can see audit. Who made the change? What was the change you made? What was the previous data? What was the new data? Right? I can manage permissions here as to who have access to my data by creating security rules. And these security rules are enormous, guys. Big, big, big ones. You can create security rules as level as to the application, who can build application, who can export data. I'm saying you can have security rules to manage who can export or touch data. Let me open one of them. Who can export data? Imagine, export data. Look at the security rules that we have, guys. Beautiful, beautiful stuff here. Right? Let me just drag this up a bit. Come on now. Just close it. Yeah. See, these are different security rules: create, read, write, delete, append to, and then you can manage it. See, if I go to the core records means core tables, these system tables. Can you see? Let me go to custom tables. See custom tables here. If I show it, you will see our Star Ever table somewhere there. Where's the guy? Okay, I think he's not populated. Am I in the same environment? I think I'm in the other one. I'm not in the one I just used. So you can see different things, right? I can action on each of them to determine who does what inside my environment. I can break it down. See, I can have two people in the same team, right? I can have maybe Mark and Suraj in the same team, but I'm saying I want to give Mark access to a column and Suraj does not have access to the same column, but they both have access to the table. Beautiful stuff, right? So those are the things you get to do within security roles. You see, I can determine who is building my applications and all of that. And apart from that, I talked about duplicate detection. If I go to data management, see, duplicate detection. So check if the name is similar, maybe first 3 characters, first 4 characters, first 5 characters. Beautiful, beautiful stuff, and all of that that I can do. Do bulk deletion. See, all of this is already there. These are backend codes that we normally do, right? Functions. All we need to do is check the boxes in the Dataverse, come and set them up here. No functions, no code. Your database structure is there. Guys, this is something I've been using for years. I've done quite a lot of project, large project on this. I did a project in 2021, a Power BI project of about 795,000 worth of movable data, 4 million worth of in-state insight data sitting in Dataverse, no coughing, nothing. The Dataverse holds it effectively. That's the beauty. Talking to you from a pro dev perspective, somebody who writes SQL every day, my SQL every day, I'm telling you that for enterprise structure, Microsoft Dataverse is strong. This is just an introduction course. I'm sure we'll probably pick some of the other elements in depth later as we go on. All right, I think I will just hang the booth there. Thank you, Suraj. Thank you, Staiva. If you have any questions, I'm sure you can pass it down to Suraj. I'll be glad to answer. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andy, for this session. It was really interactive. I can really see the interaction and explaining the complicated things really simple way. It was really understanding and I myself was able to understand like really well. We were calling out on the important things that you need to be concentrating on. So yeah, I hope everybody here was able to understand that as well. We ran a little bit past the time, but I think it was worth the time to be spending more. And I hope you are already joined the community, and we'll be sharing uh, the link for your certificate just now, and you should be able to receive it. And thank you, Atunde, for the joining with us, and thank you all for joining. And please make sure you fill out the form to receive your certificate of participation, and and also make sure you join our community.